Proverbs tonight. We've been in the book of Proverbs for a while, and this chapter is called Words Like Swords and Honey. So we can go ahead and pray first. God, I just want to thank you. Thank you for getting the camera working. Thank you for bringing the people out tonight. Thank you for the people who will be watching online. Just thank you, God, that we are able to gather together and to learn more about you. Gather together and learn more about what it is you would have us to learn tonight. So, God, I pray that the words that come out of my mouth, that they are your words. The thoughts that come into my head, they're your thoughts, God, and that I am able to convey them to the people. And, God, I just thank you for Proverbs. Thank you for these short and sweet little 1 and 2 line words that are easy to understand for the most part, and that they are full of impact and power each and every single time that we read one, God. So I just want to say thank you for Proverbs, and thank you for what you do for us. And God, I just want to say bless Bishop and Sister Taylor as they're in the Dominican Republic right now, as they are ministering over there. I believe tomorrow night will be the licensing ceremony that they're going to have there. God, I pray that it goes well. Thank you for taking the media team over there, God, and just give them a wonderful time, as well as a time to teach the people there about you, God, especially the youth that they will be talking to. Let them hear with open ears and an open heart what it is that you are saying to them. So, God, I just say thank you for that missions opportunity, and to just bless both churches that will be receiving our team. So we just want to say thank you for that, God, and we say amen and amen. All right, so we are in Proverbs, and this is called Words Like Swords and Honey. So these Proverbs are about relationships and how we speak to each other, what we say to each other, and how we say it to each other. And they have given us lots of different Proverbs to go over tonight. So if we could start out in Proverbs 12, 16 through 19. And then from there we'll go in chronological order, skipping around a little bit on the numbers, but still in order. So the first one is Proverbs 12, 16 through 19. It says, "A fool is quick-tempered, but a wise person stays calm when insulted. An honest witness tells the truth, and a false witness tells lies. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing." There's a whole lot of impact just in those 3 verses right there. So a fool is quick-tempered. Does anybody know a quick-tempered person? You feel like sometimes you have to walk on eggshells. You're like, ooh, I better not say that. I better not say it this way. I better not say it that way. I need to really think about what I'm going to say. But a wise person stays calm when insulted. That's hard to do. That is hard to do. I used to have to teach this all the time, every single day, all the time when I was at school. Staying calm when you're insulted. Just because someone says something about you, does that make it true? No. So why do you care if they say it? It doesn't change who you are, and it makes them look foolish. And this is the one that always killed me. But he said something about my mama. Has he ever met your mama? Does he even know your mama? Is there any of the things that they said was true? No. So why do you care? Move on. Move on. So it always brought me back to sometimes it is not the words that we say. Sometimes it is how we say them. So here's a simple thing. Sit down, eat. Sit down, eat. What does that sound like? Sounds like an invitation, right? Come on in, have a seat. We have something to eat. Sit down, eat. It's a command? Does it sound nice though? Nope. What if you say, come on, or if you say, sit down, eat. Impatience. So they're all the exact same words. They all mean the same thing until you add your tone of voice on there. So a lot of times, again, this is going to be a lot about my students. A lot of times it's not what you're saying, it is how you're saying. It changes the meaning. Come in, sit down and eat. We would love to have you. Sit down and eat. It's dinner time. Means different things. but you're still saying the same words. Sit down and eat. And that's one of the problems with using so much of social media. You can't hear how the person is speaking, and you can't see their face and what their face is conveying, their body language. So a lot of times you're like, man, that was rude. Well, do you know what a comma means? Sit down, comma, eat. Sit down, pause, and go ahead and eat, right? There's no exclamation point, so that doesn't mean that they're yelling at you. You just don't know. So the internet with my students, awful. But anyway, and then the last part of verse 19, 12 and 19, truthful words stand the test of time, but lies are soon exposed. So we know that one. We know we've heard lots of untruths in the media, social media, from the top on down in our society. We hear lots of untruths. We hear lots of things we know they're not true, and they're falling apart all the time as we speak. But truthful words stand. So is there a difference between truth and fact? Difference between truth and fact. I'll give you an example. A truth that, sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something? Here's the.
I think about the scripture in Philippians where it talks about like meditate on these things, whatever is peaceable, whatever is true, whatever is noteworthy. So it just makes me think about the truth of God. Sometimes people will twist facts to make it go into their favor, and it's laced with deception. So for me, truth is pure when it's associated with the attributes of Christ, when you're telling
Amen.
the truth. But facts, sometimes those things can be a little bit laced with malice. So I do think it's
So a fact isn't true?
A fact can be true, but when we think about the difference between truth, meaning the truth of who Jesus Christ is, and a fact being worldly knowledge, I think it's just the difference between carnality and what's the opposite of carnality? Holiness, purity.
Uncarnal?
Yeah.
Purity.
Holy. Yeah, holy and carnality.
There you go. So a truth, here's an example. Lake Bloomington. It's a lake, right? That's the truth. Right now, I can go swimming in that lake. That's a fact, right? In the wintertime, it's frozen over and I can ice skate, right? So it's a fact that you can ice skate on Lake Bloomington. It's a fact that you can swim in Lake Bloomington. But the truth is it's a lake. Facts can change depending on whatever, in this case, the season. So if you think about it that way, where facts can change depending on the circumstances, but truth never changes. It's always the same. It's always a lake. It's always Lake Bloomington. But I can't always swim in it, and I can't always ice skate on it. So truthful words will stand the test of time. Facts don't necessarily. They change with circumstances. So to think about it that way. And then we have Proverbs 15, verses 18 and 23, not both of them. So a hot-tempered person starts fights, and a cool-tempered person stops them. Everyone enjoys a fitting reply. It is wonderful to say the right thing at the right time. So we have a hot-tempered person. Wait, what'd you say? Why are you doing that? I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Or a cool-tempered person is like, okay, are you done? Well, maybe that's not always the right thing to say because that had a little bit of sarcasm in it. But having a cool-tempered person stops fights. Have you ever noticed that? If you want to stop a fight, again, going back to my students, I would be arguing. And they would say, he said I was, and he said I was, and he said I was. I said, what would happen if you just said, yeah, I am? What would happen if you said that to someone who was arguing with you, who was fighting with you? Yeah, you're right. They used to cuss at me, and they would say, Mrs. Henkel, you're a... I'm like, yeah, sometimes I am. I can be. You're right. They don't have anything more to say back to that. They can't argue because I'm not going against them. I'm agreeing with them. And sometimes they would say things, of course, that were untrue about me, and I'd still go, okay, I can be that. What? Huh? What? Exactly. You stop the fight. I stayed cool. They're hot-tempered. They want to argue. They want to fight. All right? So this happened a lot with kids in the timeout room. A lot of times the kids would be in the timeout room. They're upset. Something's just happened. And if I can stay cool, if I can stay even-tempered and listen to what they have to say, they're going to talk la 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 and kind of slow down as they go. And that's when you can come in with the right words. That's when you know that you have an opportunity to tell them the right thing. I had a student who was really upset. We have camp week in the summer. Me personally, it's the best time of the school year. We literally go out to Lake Bloomington. We're out there all week. We go out there during the school day, come back or the buses come pick them up out there. We swim, we would do crafts, fish, whatever. But I had one of my students with autism. He's like, no, I don't want to camp. I don't want to go to camp. No. And I'm thinking, everything we do out there, he likes. And God was like, he thinks he's staying all night. And I said, do you think you're going out to camp and we're going to stay all night out there? He's like, yeah, that's what camping is. I'm like, oh, I got you. No, camp is a place, and we're going to go to this place, and we're going to stay there. And I gave him just the right words for him, and he was able to come to camp. And then the next year, hallelujah, he was able to go back to his public school, but he still got that experience of going to camp. So having those right words at just the right time can just really just change everything that happens, right? All right, Proverbs 16. We're going to do 23, 24, and 28. All right? So Proverbs 16 and 23. From a wise mind comes wise speech. The words of the wise are persuasive. They are persuasive. Why are they persuasive? Because they're wise. They mean something. They mean the right thing. Right? Verse 24, Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. So the name of our chapter is Words Like Swords and Honey. So it says honey is healthy. How is honey healthy? Does anybody know any of the properties of honey? It's sweet. But how is it healthy? You might as well just keep it.
I think it's soothing. So like if your throat is inflamed or
Exactly.
anything like that, the properties in honey just comes through and it helps to soothe and to coat. So it is in the natural, like, I think that's exactly what you're explaining.
Exactly. Honey is also antibacterial. So honey can help with small cuts, small wounds. It can help keep bacteria out or kill bacteria that is in your body already in that cut. So honey is actually healthy. So that was one of the reasons why they use that word. Words are like honey, or like swords and like honey. They can soothe you. They can heal you. They can make you feel better. They taste good. And they can also be a sword. So we're going to talk about some of the ways that words can be like a sword. So this is verse 20, Proverbs 16 and 28. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife, and gossip separates the best of friends. Ouch. Ouch. Seeds of strife. What is strife? Discontent. Strife can cause differences between people. You know, as an example, you're trying to get someone else to talk, so you hand them the mic, and they're just like, oh, I ain't talking. Seeds of strife. All right? And then, of course, we know what gossip is. Gossip separates the best of friends. If you've ever your friend told you something and you go tell someone else, ouch. Ouch. That can cause a problem. So words can be honey and words can be a sword. All right. Proverbs 17, 9 and 19. All right. Love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. What does that one mean? Love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends.
When you basically like when you forgive somebody, obviously like you're able to move past it, but the longer you dwell on it, it just causes more problems instead of it being forgiven. It's like you're kind of allowing that to cause further issues, or I can say, yeah, I
Exactly.
forgive you, but then what are your actions leading after that? Are you still holding that over my head later on down the line?
Exactly.
Which can cause some issues.
Or if you remember, yeah, but the last time, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
It also makes me think about the love of Christ, where when somebody forgives you and they show you mercy, it makes you, it's like, I don't deserve this, but now I love them even more.
Exactly.
So just that relationship of reconciliation, like that love just takes you to a whole nother level when you know
Yes.
I was wrong.
Exactly. I had a student one day, he came in, and no other students were in the room, and he wanted to tell me what happened over the weekend. Not anything he said was appropriate. Can't repeat it here. But he tells me this big, long story, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know that he needs to get these things off his chest. No other students are here at school yet. Okay, go ahead, tell me your story. So he tells me the story. We talk about it just a little. And in walks a couple of students, and he says, guess what happened over the weekend? Hold on. I'm like, stop. We just talked about this. It's not appropriate. Well, he gets mad at me because of my tone of voice, which he should have. And we have a whole thing. And he ends up out in the, we would have kids go in the hallway, from the hallway to the timeout room. So he was in the hallway. He had calmed down now. And he's like, all right, I know, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. I said, you know it should. What you did was inappropriate. I said, but I got to tell you, what I did was inappropriate too. And he's like, what? I said, I know that I can't talk to you in that tone of voice. I shouldn't have talked to you in that tone of voice. So how about we make a deal? How about just this happens and nothing else? And he's like, what? So he's like, all right. Hey, Mr. Perry, my co-teacher, guess what Mrs. Henkel did? And I'm like, oh, good Lord. But he was so excited to be given that grace. He was so excited to know that I loved him enough to say, I made a mistake too. So I need to clear that up. Right? And that stuck with him. He would come to me and he'd be like, oh, let me tell you what happened. He's like, okay, wait a minute. Let me see if I can say it without being inappropriate. And I'm like, okay. He never was really greatly successful, but I knew that his effort was there. I knew he was trying. I knew he was doing the best that he could do because he was so super excited to tell me what happened. And then the one day we came to school, he had stitches on his finger. I had stitches on the same finger. We were the besties after that because that was the coolest for him because we both had the stitches. All right? So anyone who loves to quarrel loves sin, and anyone who trusts in high walls invites disasters. And I was like, what? What is that? What is a quarrel? And is it different than a fight? And is it different than an argument? Let's just go with quarrel and argument. Oops, is there a difference between those two? Of course, any of y'all who know me know I had to go look it up in the dictionary to find out. I don't know. Excuse me? Okay. Yeah? What did he give did you give an answer? No, okay. A quarrel is, when you argue with someone, you're given reasons for or against something. It's not positive, it's not negative. However, a quarrel is a verbal conflict between people. Like, what? So when you're arguing, you're saying, this is the way that we should do whatever, and here's why. And the other person is, no, we should do it this way, and here's why. I was like, huh. I never knew that there was a difference between those two. But a quarrel is let me make sure I say it the right way. Gosh darn it. All right, so a quarrel is a verbal conflict between people. So no fight, no fists, no hitting, kicking, spitting, biting, none of those things. A verbal argument. So can you argue without turning it into a quarrel? Obviously you can, because there's a difference between the two, right? How difficult is that, though? I know I am right. Don knows he is right, right? So we need to do it this way. And he's like, no, we need to do it this way. So you have to learn how to not turn it into a quarrel. And that usually means compromise. Someone has to say, okay, we're going to do it your way. Unless you have a third person who can break that tie. Make sense? All right, so now we're moving on to Proverbs 18 and 21. Oh, I forgot. Anyone who trusts in walls invites disaster, in high walls. What in the world does that mean? I was thinking, here's not military, here's a city and you have high walls around it. Why is it bad to trust in that? But I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about, I want to keep you out. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. You're building your own walls. So if you are trusting in those high walls, then you're inviting disaster upon yourself. I was like, I never thought about that before. I just thought I was, trying to protect myself. No need to let everybody in know all your business, right? But here it says, anyone who trusts in high walls invites disaster. I'm like, okay. And then the famous Proverbs 18 and 21. The tongue can bring death or life, and those who love to talk will reap the consequences. So the first part we know, you can say things that hurt people or you can say things to build people up. Okay, cool. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. Has anybody ever been with someone who just likes to talk, and then they talk some more? They're going to reap the consequences of their constant talking. Wow. That's kind of crazy to me. I never thought there were really consequences other than I get tired of listening and I generally tune out if they're talking too much. Sorry, but that's what I do. So you're going to reap the consequences if you're just going to sit there and talk. Wow.
I always considered that scripture going both ways. So how it said that life and death are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it will eat its fruit. So if you speak life, then there's good fruit that comes from it. If it's death, then there's bad fruit that comes from it. And just thinking about even loving to talk, if you love to speak about life, then that's going to be the fruit that you receive as opposed to the opposite.
I never thought about it that way, but that's true. That's true. If you're speaking life to the person and you're still talking, but you're speaking life to them, that can also be a way to lift people up. I never thought about it that way. Thank you. Next is Proverbs 26:17 through 25. I love the first one. Interfering in someone else's argument is as foolish as yanking a dog's ear. I just think to me, that's a big visual. Wait a minute, stop your argument. I could help you out with this. And they turn around and bite you. Now they're going to join. This used to happen at school all the time. The two that were arguing, now they join together to come against whoever's trying to stop their argument. And I'm like, oh my goodness, they're just trying to help you. But I get it. I really do get it. It's their discussion. Stay out of it. All right, so just as damaging as a madman shooting a deadly weapon is someone who lies to a friend and then says, oh, I was just joking. Whoa. Anyone ever had somebody do that to them? Say something and then you get upset and they're like, oh, wait, I was just joking. Yeah. Oh, whoa. Did it feel like a joke? No. Did it ever feel like a joke? No. Did it ever feel comfortable for you? No. Not at all. I was just joking. I had to teach. A joke is only funny when both people think it's funny. Otherwise, it's not a joke. Otherwise, you're making fun or you're hurting or whatever. So, yeah. So, just as damaging as a madman shooting a deadly weapon is someone who lies to a friend and then says, I was only joking. So, shooting a weapon and saying, doing a prank on someone is the same thing. It's both equally deadly. It's like, wow. All right, God. All right. Fire goes out without wood, and quarrels disappear when gossip stops. A quarrelsome person starts fights as easily as hot embers light charcoal or fire lights wood. So gossip keeps a quarrel. You notice it keeps saying quarrel or quarrelsome. It doesn't say an argument. It doesn't say a fight. A quarrel, and they are a quarrel is equally as hot as the amount of gossip that goes into it. Wow. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart. Smooth words may hide a wicked heart, just as a pretty glaze covers a clay pot. So those little rumors are like a seed. You're planting a seed of discord. You're planting a seed of maybe lies. You're planting a seed of strife, of an argument. You're planting those seeds, and those seeds are going to grow. When you are saying those little bitty rumors, oh, I heard that blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it's true. Well, then why did you say it? Why did you say it? If you don't know if it's true, zip it. Don't say it. And then smooth words may hide a wicked heart, just as a pretty glaze covers a clay pot. Those people who can speak really, really well and you have that discernment, and you're like, they're lying. They're not telling the truth. But some people are distracted by those pretty words and don't listen to the words, but listen to how well they are speaking them. Come in and eat. Sit down and eat. When what they're really saying is, come in, sit down and eat. I got you now. Pretty words that cover a clay pot. People may cover their hatred with pleasant words, but they're deceiving you. They pretend to be kind, but don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils. Wow. People that have lots of pleasant words, they're deceiving you. What is the only way that we can understand if someone is really trying to deceive us? What do we need as Christians? We need that discernment. We need to know that what we're hearing is just a bunch of pretty words. It's just a bunch of talk. A lot of times politicians get that reputation. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's not necessarily true. But they get that reputation of, you got a lot of pretty words. I'm gonna do this for you. I'll do this for you. I'll do this for you. And then as soon as you become president, about 14 months ago, you don't do any of it. Oh, wait a minute. That was rhetorical. Sorry. But you say all of these things that you're going to do, and then you don't do it. Pretty words. Pretty words. All right. Then Proverbs 27, 5, 6, and 17. So we're going to do 5 and 6 first. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. What is a rebuke? Correction. You did this incorrectly. Let me show you the right way to do it. All right? That is better than someone who really, really does love you and they never show it. Wow, think about that. Someone loves you, but it's better to get a rebuke. Wow. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. So even though your friend has hurt you in some way, shape, or form, it's still better than the enemy who says, oh, come on, I got you. Come, sit down, eat. I'm going to be with you. And then does whatever they're going to do to you. So even though sometimes your friends can wound you, it's still better than your enemy trying to kiss you. Yes, sir.
I would say, too, like, if you're not careful, like how it was speaking about the open rebuke versus a concealed one, like, you can have love and care for somebody, and that criticism can quickly turn into gossip, or you know what I mean, like if you're not
Exactly.
careful, and then if you're not expressing that to them openly. For example, when I used to work at the prison, a lot of people had a lot of things to say about, the upper management and like lieutenants and sergeants, but it was never, or they would complain about how they ran the cell house or whatever. But so my thing was, are you going to put in for that position? Nah, they just need to do it better and this better. But
Yep.
it was like, it was still criticism, but it turned into gossip and things like the backbiting and, all the other stuff.
All of those lovely things. But criticism is different than a rebuke. Because criticism in and of itself is a negative thing. Where rebuke is, oh, wait. You did not do that right. Let's try that again, or whatever, right? So
Minister
then,
Deb,
yes, go ahead.
It also makes me think about, like, even the example that you gave about the boy, where you were like, I just told you not to do that. To me, that's an open rebuke, where you are course correcting immediately because of the damage that it can have, with the larger people. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where sometimes it can be offensive and it can sting. But what I love about just the power of a good rebuke is that it's important to have relationship too. Like think about how hard it would have been for Jesus, Peter, when he heard, "Get behind me, Satan," when he I was just trying to do something
Ouch.
good, but he had to do that with that tone, with that level of precision, just because I need to act now. So sometimes I think a rebuke can be nice, and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes
when
it's
you
not so
are
much.
close to someone, you gotta move quickly. Like, you should know this, and then you always kind of smooth it over in front of the same people that you may have
Yes, thank you.
disrupted in. So
Exactly.
don't
But I also knew in my heart with that boy, it was not a rebuke. I was like, shut up, is really what I was thinking in my head. Those were the words that were in my head, and I knew I couldn't say that. But I was really, it was like, and so I knew I needed to apologize. If it was just a rebuke, like, stop talking about that now, is different than how I did say it. But anyway. And then it comes to one of my favorites. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. So we've heard that iron sharpens iron, iron sharpens iron. What does it mean? So if I have, Sister Brittany and I were sisters. We did 100% change together. We were in the same class, so we have that commonality. We have that closeness. We have that information. We have all of that. And I can say something to her, and she'll be like, it might sting, but she might go, yeah. And she could do the same to me. So we're iron is sharpening iron. We're similar, or the same is sharpening the same. So a friend also sharpens a friend. You see your friend doing something that you know is incorrect, you correct them. So me being me, iron sharpens iron. What does that literally mean? So when you sharpen a knife, and I went back to, at that time, now it's different, but back then, iron sharpens iron was literal. So if you were a soldier and you had your sword, you could use another sword to sharpen your sword. You could use another, I forget what it's called, dang it, whetstone. You could use a whetstone which had iron in it, and you would sharpen your sword. This is the part that blew my mind, is when you sharpen a sword, a knife, or whatever, you're not sharpening it. You're not making it sharper. What happens when a knife becomes dull, it gets bent. It gets peeled or rolled over. It is no longer the correct shape. So when you rub those two together, you're taking the one that's incorrect and you're smoothing it out. You're reshaping it. You're reforming it. Reminds me of the potter. The potter takes the clay and he forms the clay, right? That's what we're doing when iron sharpens iron. I'm not sharpening Brittany. I am putting her back in her rightful position. I'm putting all parts of her back into the position where she is now useful again. I was like, oh my goodness. I was ready to run when I read that, how you don't really take away metal from a knife or a sword when you sharpen it. You are reshaping it. so that it is back in the correct shape, so that it is back the way that it's supposed to work. I was like, what the? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Yes, he is making you who you are supposed to be, and we are supposed to do that as well. So if I see Brittany doing whatever, it is my job to be like, okay, Brittany, you need to be doing this differently. You need to figure out how to do this differently. So you're just repositioning, you're reshaping that knife or that sword to do it so that it's in the correct shape, so it's in the correct position to do what it needs to do. I was like, wow. I was super excited about that. Yes, ma'am.
Even with you saying that, that scripture that talks about two is better than one, I think about our relationship through dance ministry and just how the gifts that you bring to dance ministry help dance ministry be better. It helps sharpen us. You know what I mean? So even just thinking about that, sometimes it's like, no, we want to hear from you. We want to receive, and it's not necessarily friction. It's a different perspective
Exactly.
that can say, oh, I don't have this. Can you bring something to the table too?
Exactly. And it could possibly get ugly sometimes if it was the way the world does it, because I am 50 years older than what Brittany is. Okay, I'm not that much older, but I'm way older than Brittany, and I should be the one who knows the information. I should be the boss because I'm the elder. But by ironing, sharpening iron, I know I have to be quiet because she's the leader. I am not the leader. Not that I can't talk or, put my input, but she's the leader. And so I have to go under her because she is the leader. So even simple things like that, you don't think too much about it. But really, God is saying this is how it should be. He didn't say, Deb, you're older so that you're wiser and you need to be the boss. No. He said, I've made Brittany the one who has the information, and she's the leader, and I need to listen. So I just thought that was really cool. I just thought that was cool. Oh, and then when you are sharpening a sword only works if it's in the correct shape. It has to have the correct geometry on the edge. It has to be at this particular angle. I think they told me the angle. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. So it has to be at the right shape. It can't just be, oh, that looks really sharp. I can cut things with it. Well, yeah, you can. But a lot of times if your iron or your sword isn't sharpened correctly, you're really just hitting the person. You're not even stabbing them or cutting them, or the sword is not doing what its job is. You're just kind of beating something up instead of just killing it mercifully, which sounds really weird. I've always thought that sounded weird. But kill mercifully with a sword that is sharpened. Is anybody in here a cook? Not a baker, but a cook? Yeah, well, I wish I could do that. But you get hurt more from a dull knife than you do with a sharpened knife, because it'll slip, it'll roll over, it'll move, it doesn't do its job. So we need to make sure that we, as Christians, are doing our job and helping others to do their job as well. I was just like, wow, a simple thing, iron sharpens iron. We hear that from Bishop all the time, iron sharpens iron. And now we have a better understanding of what that really means. All right. So there are some questions that they had at the back of the book. It says, when you are in a heated discussion with someone, what do you need to do? You need to pause and think 3 things before continuing to answer. Your first thing is it true? Proverbs 14:25. Is it helpful? Proverbs 12:25. And is it needed? Proverbs 10:19. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it needed? But when you're in this heated discussion, to me, it's more of an argument, then you need to stop and think, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it needed? And the Bible lines up with all 3 of those things. I didn't write those out. If we can turn to them if you'd like. Proverbs 14:25. This will be quicker if I just did it this way. 1425 and 1225. Oh, I thought this would be quicker. Here we go. 14 and 25. A truthful witness saves lives, but a false witness is deceitful. So is what you're saying, is it true? The next one, is it helpful? Proverbs 12 and 25. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. And then, is it needed? Proverbs 10 and 19. Sin is not ended by multiplying words, but the prudent hold their tongues. So is it true? Is it helpful? Is it needed? And if you can stop and think during those heated discussions, those three things, and one, it slows you down. Two, you have to really think about the words that you're about to say. And three, then make a decision. Do I really need to say this? So we used to do what was called a life space interview. So kids have now had an issue. It's been a big enough issue. Now they're in the timeout room because we told them to go there. Let's go calm down. And then we start to talk about their issue. And we would say to them, so tell me what happened. When you went through this, blah, 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 what happened? And they tell their side of the story. The hard part, as I'm sitting there listening to them, is what they're saying true? Usually, no. Is what I have to say, is it going to be helpful at this point? Also, no. Is what I have to say, is it going to be needed? Nope, not yet. So we let the kids tell their story. They can have their big, long tale. It kind of reminded me of somebody named Donald, somebody. And they tell this big, long story, and they don't ever get to the part of what they did, how they reacted. And so they'll go through their story, and you can tell they're about ready to be able to listen because now they're talking slower, they're talking quieter. And then I say, here's what I heard you say. I heard you say, and repeat back what they said, right? So we're comparing, is it true what I'm hearing? Sometimes they'll say, no, that's not what I said. Okay, tell me again. But anyway, so we get to the truth of what they're saying. This is what they believe. And then I get to say what I saw. You know what? Here's what I saw. And maybe it's not true. Tell me if it's not true. And I'll repeat back what I saw. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah. I said, but I thought you said, I'm just trying to understand. And you just keep having this conversation back and forth. And then in the end, do I really need to say, see, I told you were a liar? That is not what happened. Is that helpful? No. Do I need to say to them, I'm sorry, but the other person was right the whole time and everything you said was wrong? No. So is it true what I said? I believe it was. Is it helpful? Trying to be. And then is it needed? Do I need to tell them everything that they said was wrong? No. They usually can figure this out on their own. All right? So being able to slow down, listen, and it's called I statements. What I heard, what I saw, what I think. And then that helps them. They can't argue because it's me. I'm talking about me, not them. Yes, Brittany.
I was wondering, like, as I was writing down what was said, what is the difference between being helpful and needed?
Okay, so if it's helpful, let's say a student is feeling justified that they were attacked by another student, all right? They were not attacked. This other person was defending themselves. Well, it's similar to the case that was going on with Carmelo Anthony, this just decided today. Was what they were doing, what I'm about to do, am I helping them by saying or doing what I'm doing? Is it needed? What I have to say or do is needed. I know it's needed, I know it's helpful, but do they need it? So if I know that really you threw your pencil at the other person and hit him right between the eyes and they got up to retaliate to you, do I really need to say all of that? If we've already gone through this happened, then this happened, then this happened, do I really need to say, was that very nice? No, because they already know. It's not helpful. Now you're just rubbing it in their face like, see, you did it wrong. See, you shouldn't have. See. So you can just leave that part. You don't have to say all of that. It's not necessarily needed. And sometimes they've already, not even those kids, but people have just decided, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to do this. You know it's not the right way to do it. You have no doubt it's not the right way to do it, but they're going to do it that way anyway. Do you need to tell them, all right, you're wrong, go ahead and do it? Nope. Do you need to say anything else? No. Let them go ahead and do it. Maybe they'll learn from it. I used to do that with kids all the time. Here's what I told you. We're going to do this, this, and this, and when we get done, we'll go outside, but we're not going outside till all 3 pieces are done. So you guys go ahead and keep talking if you'd like. I don't mind. I don't really want to go outside anyway, so you just keep talking. And then do I have to say again, you need to be quiet, we're going to go outside. You need to finish work, we're going to go outside. You need to, so we can go outside. So it's not needed. They know the boundaries. They know what they need to do. It's set up. You either do it or you don't. But if I keep saying, come on, we're going to go outside. Come on, let's do this. Come on. It's not needed. They know. So helpful and needed. Is it helpful? Yeah, it might be. But if they're not going to do it, they're either going to do it or not do it. Let them choose. So we did that all of the time. So here's a question. We talked about the difference between quarrel and argue. So you're having this discussion, you're arguing with your spouse, your significant other, your friend. How do you do that without it turning into a quarrel? How do you do that? Exactly. 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 So if I did not want to quarrel with you, I'm not going to say, I know you're really mad at me, because I really don't know that, right? So you have to know the other person. What else? Anything else?
I think it's important to know yourself. One of my old supervisors said that it's important to teach people how to treat you. So going along with what Tonda said is just how important it is for you to know, well, I don't like when you say this. Because if you can identify, if you can't identify why somebody ticked you off, then more than likely it's going to keep happening.
Exactly.
So knowing yourself is really key.
Exactly.
So that way you can communicate, I didn't like that, in a calm voice. So all I can control is myself in the midst of a quarrel. And for me, those boundaries, for me to know myself, are key.
Exactly. You have your boundaries. You have what you are going to do that will keep you safe. Is a harsh word. I don't know about safe, but it's going to keep you from saying something you don't want to say or doing something you don't want to do. You know what that is. You got to do it. So trying to just say, nope, I think we should do it this way, stop, and then a decision has to be made. That's what I think. Yes, ma'am.
In addition to that, like, knowing myself is one piece that I've learned about myself, but also knowing that I'm not always right too. So
Exactly.
I have to respect that same thing when somebody tells me, like, I don't like this. Like, I want to be able to understand and empathize with their perspective. And I think that being able to understand where someone else is coming from, that helps create a space of safety.
Exactly. Exactly. So just understanding, having understanding. You got to know yourself, know the other person. You probably know how to make them mad. You also know how to not make them mad. So work on that as well. All right, we talked about that one. Proverbs 12:17 says to speak the truth, and Proverbs 17:9-14 says that we should cover an offense and we should not dwell on it. Can both of these things happen at the same time? Can you speak the truth and cover over someone's offense? Can you do that both at the same time? I think so too. Like, I can speak the truth about the situation knowing that, okay, Don was wrong, and he knows that what he said was incorrect, and he's like, oh man. So I can just speak the truth and just keep walking, keep going, keep doing what we're doing, and I don't have to say, see, I told you so. I told you so, all right? So here's an interesting question. Is there someone in your life who needs to hear more gracious words from you, and you need to be intentional about it? Is there someone who needs more gracious words from you, and you need to be intentional about it? Not just, man, in my head I'm thinking, all right, I really upset Rashad. I'm just going to stay away from him for a while and he'll get over it. Or do I need to go to him, and do I need to say something to him? Do I need to maybe apologize, maybe be whatever? You know, is there someone in your life that you need to be more intentional with your words with? You don't have to say it out loud. Just think about that. And if there is, the book challenges us to go ahead and do that in the next week. Go to those people and speak those words to them and say, hey, how are you doing? I noticed whatever the thing is, right? It always reminds me of new kids at school. When a kid came to our school, it's a new kid, so of course they don't know the rules, right? So let's say that here's the rule, you need to get your work done before we go outside. And the new kid doesn't get their work done, they get to go outside, but the kid who's been here for a while didn't get his work done, he needs to stay inside. Is it okay for me to take the other kid outside? Well, in my head, for me, the answer was almost always yes. Because I had to think about this new kid. So this new kid is a new kid. They're new at that school. This new kid had to fail at his public school in order to get to my classroom. Well, that school, not my classroom. So they've already failed at one school. They don't know the rules yet, right? They have been removed from their community. So we got kids from all over the state of Illinois. They don't know a single person. They've failed with all the adults they've worked with up to that point in their school, and now here's a new set of adults that they have to work with that they've never met before. All of their adults in their life have probably treated them not so good. But then they're told they need to trust us, right? And then a lot of times the kids that come to us have had a lot of trauma in their life, right? So they were also used to, if I don't want to do my work, all I have to do is whatever the behavior was, and they didn't have to do their work at their other school. So all of these things with a new kid at school, I knew that they needed more grace and more mercy than a student who had been with me for a while. And I had no problem taking a new kid and going, all right, come on, let's go outside, but we're going to talk for just a minute about here's what you need to do. Because next time, you know you need to get your work done before we go outside. So I'm not going to be so nice the next time. You need to get your work done. And I know you're new, and if you have questions, all those kinds of things. So giving those new students grace in their life is what I needed to do for those kids. Was it fair to the student who was already in my room? Depends on your definition of fair. As a junior high student, absolutely not fair. Nothing was ever fair. If it went against them, it was not fair. But you could usually talk to them, and you could say, I gave so-and-so grace because he's a new kid, and name some reasons why. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So was it fair? I guess it depends on your definition of fair. Yes. Exactly. So you are given grace. You are given mercy. Lots of grace, lots of mercy. Lots of grace, lots of mercy. Now lots of mercy, maybe not so much grace. Now not so much grace, but I'll give you some mercy. So being fair, that's such a hard thing. That's such a hard thing to really, truly describe. Because that new student does have the same rules, and yet is given grace because of this, this, and this. Is it going to last forever? No. Nope. And they're always going to try it. And as long as I hold my boundary, they figure it out. Yes?
I think about defining fair as the difference between equality and equity. Like, you don't treat all the kids in your class the same when they're coming in at different levels. Kind of how Tanya was talking about.
Yeah.
Coming into being a new Christian versus somebody who has already been through the process of teaching. But that was just the difference of you showing equity to that student who is experiencing an entirely new culture come into that school.
Exactly. And trying to explain it to the students, well, first or junior high, nothing is ever fair unless everybody gets exactly the same thing. So, yeah. And even handing out consequences. I had a student who literally hardly talked at all, ever. And if I was to say, okay, you need to sit quietly at your desk for the next 10 minutes, like, shoot, I got that. I don't talk anyway. To another student who is you need to sit quietly, I would probably say 5 minutes for him. And once you're quiet for 5 minutes, then we can move on to whatever the thing is. Well, how come she gets to talk and I don't? So I took him aside. I said, does she ever talk? He's like, no. So if I gave her a consequence of not talking, would it work? Oh, no, probably not. No. You like to talk, don't you? Yeah, I want to. Shh, you do like to talk. But right now you have to be quiet. And that was his consequence because that meant something to him. Her consequence would be something different. You can't draw for the next 5 minutes, whatever it is. So fair is a hard thing to explain to people, and having those words that you might need to talk to someone else, give that a try this week. Tell them those words of encouragement, those words of, how are you doing? Just give them those words this week and see how it works. Even if you're, okay, they might not deserve this, but I'm going to tell them, I'm going to give them, I'm going to help them, I'm going to do this. And let them know that you are there, you're on their side. All right? So our words of honey and swords, right? Those are our words. They can either be honey to the person or they can be wounding to the person. And we need to really be cautious of what we're saying. And then I gave you a handout, and it was a compilation of a couple of pages in the book that we're teaching from. And I just thought it would be helpful. He talks about James. James and Proverbs have many of the similar things, but James writes it, of course, a different way than what Proverbs does. And then the other page was just speech that either builds up or tears down, and they give a bunch of different Proverbs in here. So I just thought that might be something that you all would like to look at and go over maybe. So that's really just for your enjoyment and to have some extra study if you would like it. So I don't know if there's anybody else who has any questions or comments or concerns or whatever. Now would be the time. It's literally called Proverbs Bible Study, which is not helpful. It is on Amazon, but there's a lot of them called Proverbs Bible Study. So it's by Rose Visual Bible Studies. And the series or the Bible studies we've been doing recently are from that same company, Rose Visual, or Rose Publishing, says on the back. All right. So if not, if you want to get your offerings ready, I'll go ahead and pray us out. God, thank you. Thank you for showing us how we are to conduct ourselves with our mouth, that we can love on people or we can tear people down. So God, I thank you for that lesson this evening. I thank you for the Proverbs that you have put before us. Thank you for all that you do to say, hey, here is how I want you to treat my people. Here is how I do not want you to treat my people. And how do we know who is your people? everybody is your people. So God, thank you for showing us how to treat everybody and how to speak to them with words of honey and not with the word of the sword that they don't need. So God, thank you for all that you do for us. Keep Bishop and Sister Taylor and the media team safe on their travels in the Dominican Republic. Let their time with the people be a wonderful time, a time to share you, and a time for relaxation and fun as well. And we say these things in your Son's name and say amen.